Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
A Caribbean leader advises his regional colleagues to stay out of Venezuela's affairs. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Monday, June 12. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says he will not support regime change in Venezuela despite 3 months of political unrest and economic hardship in the South American country. And he says he has made that position clear to his CARICOM colleagues. Brown reported that in a recent meeting of heads of governments, he and his Vincentian counterpart, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, said though they were concerned about the situation, the region should not interfere with the internal affairs of a sovereign state. We get more in this report from Garfield Burford of ABS News.
Some 3 months of street protests, over 70 people dead, and still no end in sight to the political and economic ruckus in Caracas and elsewhere in Venezuela. For Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, there is only one viable approach: diplomacy and dialogue.
Insofar as intervening in the affairs of any state, we are against that. We've taken that position at the OAS, and we have stood by that principle. We have stood by the principle of non-interference. We have stood by the principle of respecting the sovereignty and independence of states. We are concerned about the situation in Venezuela. Clearly, the situation is getting more and more intense, but ultimately it has to be resolved by the Venezuelan people.
He made it clear Antigua and Barbuda will not countenance moves at regime change which are being fomented in a clandestine fashion by some countries in the Americas, according to him.
You have some countries within the hemisphere who are supporting the opposition because they have a beef with Maduro. They want to see the back of Maduro. In fact, they're supporting regime change clandestinely. In the case of Antigua and Barbuda, we call a spade, and we know exactly what they're doing. So recently, we had this discussion at CARICOM, and Ralph and I took a very strong position based on principle. And we said to them, to all our colleagues within CARICOM, that we're not supporting any form of regime change in Venezuela. Yes. Let them resolve the issues. We are calling for dialogue and for common sense to prevail.
The issue of how to deal with the conflict in Venezuela has been causing a split in the Organization of American States, OAS. CARICOM spoke with a united voice in a recent OAS meeting and pushed for more discussions to hammer out an acceptable position in the hemispheric bloc. In the meantime, Prime Minister Brown says the opposition led by Enrique Capriles must take some of the blame for an escalation in the Venezuelan conflict.
That you find that the strident opposition, which is designed to bring down the government, it is exacerbating the situation. So I don't see how anyone would want to just hold the government of Venezuela and President Maduro exclusively responsible for what is happening in Venezuela. The opposition has to take some responsibility. There must be some level of restraint by them. They must wait, go to the polls. They're very popular. They won most of the seats in the assembly. So that being the case, in a year's time, if they're properly organized, they should be able to win the presidential elections. My government respects governments, duly elected governments. We can't take no position with no opposition party.
In Bermuda, both the ruling One Bermuda Alliance, the OBA, and the opposition Progressive Labour Party, the PLP, have suspended their election campaigns until further notice following the sudden death of an independent legislator and prominent lawyer over the weekend. Sean Crockwell, who was up until last year a tourism minister in the OBA administration, died suddenly over the weekend. The 47-year-old father of 3 was found unresponsive at his home on Saturday evening. Police say they do not suspect foul play, but an investigation is being carried out into the circumstances surrounding his death. And Crockwell's relatives have called on the public to stop speculating about the cause of his death and await the outcome of the inquiry. In a statement issued by Crockwell's business partner, close friend and fellow independent MP Mark Pettingill, the family said once the inquiry is finalized, they would issue a further statement. In the meantime, they want people to respect their privacy at this time. The appeal also came on the heels of a 21-second voice note circulating on social media, which described the supposed circumstances surrounding the discovery of the independent MP as well as his condition. Police have confirmed the recording was made by a member of the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service and that it contained sensational and speculative comments about the scene that were not true. An investigation into that is also underway. Crockwell's death took the country off guard, and Pettingill said on Sunday that his friend had suffered bouts of illness for some time. Pettingill had also said that given their communication in the hours before his death, he, and I quote, must accept that his struggle with his health led to this escape, end of quote. Crockwell resigned from the cabinet in March last year, citing his loss of confidence in the OBA under Premier Michael Dunkley's leadership, and then left the party less than 4 months later. He had been planning to vote against the OBA in a no-confidence motion that was supposed to be moved last Friday by opposition leader David Burt, but the vote was staved off by Premier Dunkley, who last Thursday called a general election for July 18, resulting in Parliament being dissolved. Just shy of 2 weeks away from the mid-year mark, almost 600 people have been murdered, and we're talking here now about Jamaica. The Jamaica Constabulary Force says that between January 1st and July 3rd, 585 people were killed. That's June 3rd, and that represents a 16% increase over the corresponding period last year. And 136 people were killed last month alone. Vashan Brown of TVJ News has that story.
According to police statistics, an average 4 killings were recorded daily in May. 136 persons were murdered. More than 15 persons were killed in the first 3 days of this month. In a release this afternoon, opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting said the country's murder rate is spiraling out of control. He added that the opposition is gravely concerned as these murders are happening right across the country, with only 2 of the 19 police divisions showing any improvement. The opposition says it is offering to partner for a national mobilization to fight crime. Mr. Bunting maintained that the rapid deterioration in public safety must not be allowed to continue unaddressed by the government.
The head of a major Hindu organization in Trinidad and Tobago is considering legal action against the state over the passing of the child marriage bill. Last Friday, the legislation was passed in Parliament, effectively outlawing underage girls to wed. But Satma Raj, Secretary General of the Hindu Association in Trinidad and Tobago, says the state has no right to make decisions for families.
What has happened there is a travesty, the destruction of family life. And that is to say, the state is now inviting itself into the bedroom of the population.
That's how Secretary General of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha, Satma Raj, views the unanimous vote to end child marriages last Friday. The passing of the Miscellaneous Marriage Bill 2016 means that the legal age for marriage in this country is now 18. But it's a change in law that the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha is not willing to accept. And according to its Secretary General, the state could find itself in court over the matter. Murad says the Hindu organization has a legal team which will decide the next step.
Once we start at the initial stage, remember we are going to go straight up to the Privy Council.
Murad remains adamant that the bill should not have been amended.
I don't support any interference by any politician in how we raise our family and the values we teach them, because many of them have no values on their own.
In winding up the debate last Friday, the Attorney General reiterated the figures of the child marriages in this country. He said between 1996 and 2006, there were over 3,400 child marriages. Some children who were married were as young as 12 years old.
In the United States, 49 states, you could get married at the age of 11. So don't tell me about a lot of people. By deciding what age you could get married, at what age you could have sex in your bedroom, they have now entered the bedroom of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, the Attorney General says the state will be ready to deal with any challenge filed by Maharaj, but he's adamant that child marriages in the Twin Island Republic must come to an end.
You have the right to approach the court for a determination of any issue, in particular in relation to your views as strong as Mr. Maharaj has been expressing, so I have no problem with him doing that. The Hindu Marriage Act in particular allows girls to marry 18-year-olds, and 18-year-olds are men. And I cannot deal with the concept of that form of gender discrimination.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, Barbados' largest public sector trade union warns of industrial action if controversial tax measures aren't reversed. That story and more after the break. Do stay with us.
40 years of fun in the June-July sun. Vincimas 2017. Enjoy the exciting blend of mass and panet steel and glitter. There's a Monday street party like no other. And the explosion of colors at Mardi Gras. Don't be left out of the Vincimas 40th birthday celebration. Evo 4.0. Evo 4.0. There's Kaiso and the energy at Soca Mona. June 30th to July 11th. Vincimas, the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Check out Vincimas on Facebook or carnivalsvg.com for more details. Vincimas.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Credence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Goo Goo Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Welcome back. In Barbados, the National Union of Public Workers, the NUPW, is threatening industrial action if the Minister of Finance fails to repeal tax measures introduced in the financial statement and budgetary proposals that he took to Parliament earlier this month. The NUPW, the largest public sector union in the island, is demanding that Finance Minister Chris Sinclair either recalls the tax measures or institute a coping subsidy for public servants until salary negotiations have been concluded. NUPW President Akani McDowell says Sinclair has until July 1st to meet the union's demands. He says failure to do so would result in industrial action, which could come in the form of a go slow, sick out, work to rule, or all of those. The NUPW president complained that the tax measures are expected to drastically increase the cost of living by at least 15%, which would be too much for workers to bear. McDowell contended that government's attempt to keep the struggling economy aloft by trying to pull in $500 million in taxes would diminish the spending capacity of already financially strained households. The Guyana government is taking steps to stem the loss of billions of dollars in revenue as a result of a racket in the importation of heavy-duty vehicles. Commissioner General of the Guyana Revenue Authority, Godfrey Satir, says the state is currently losing out on up to $6 billion in import taxes. We get the details of that story from Royston Drakes of Capital News.
From 2010 to 2012, just over 2,600 heavy-duty machines were imported, while only 319 were registered. Stacia said GRA is losing close to between $3 to $6 billion on those imports.
2,300 is outside here, somewhere. Right? Out of that 2,300, 1,200 of them were granted exemptions, and 1,000 were not granted exemptions.
Stacia explained some of the scenarios that have been taking place over the years.
They were moved to those that moved to industries that were not granted exemptions. It means that, for instance, agriculture would be granted the exemption, but the person buys it for agriculture and he sells it the next day to the miner, and he takes a windfall. But if we register it and these things, we would know.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Coast Guard confirmed on Monday that it has called off the search for 6 nationals who have been missing at sea since June 3rd. Lieutenant Commander Dion Henry told CMC News the search was suspended on Saturday pending any actionable information. The Coast Guard spent almost a week searching for the speedboat Midnight Shadow that went missing during a trip from the southern Grenadine island of Canouan to Mustique in the northern Grenadines. The boat was captained by Montgomery Hazel, and the passengers were named as Claudia Williams, Josiane John, Nida D'Souza and his wife Charmaine D'Souza and her sister Sharon Simmons. All the occupants were based in the Grenadine island of Mustique, where they worked with the Mustique Company Limited. The boat disappeared sometime after one of its occupants called someone in Mustique around 4:55 p.m. on June 3rd, saying that the vessel was taking in water. The Coast Guard said it was only notified of the distress call nearly 1 hour later. At least 11 people were killed and several others injured in a vehicular accident in Haiti on Saturday night. The Directorate of Civil Protection said the accident occurred in Cavillon, a department in the south, at around 9:30 p.m. In addition to the deaths, 15 people were wounded. The exact circumstances of the accident are unknown. The police are also reporting that on Saturday night, 3 boys aged 12 to 14 were killed after they were struck by lightning while playing football. 4 others were also wounded. And ahead in Newsline Sport, Windies managed to secure a 4-wicket victory in their second one-day international against Afghanistan. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Ready. It's another episode when we out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out the road. Drink, drink, drink. King Baba and the guitar. Every fact that I go, you keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, 'cause that's my babe.
Dancing and whining and fretting till the morning. Like. Drinking, masquerading, live music always playing. Like. Islands of blue seas where people always smiling. Like. Street jams and bandstands where people will be jamming. Don't you miss this time, no. Our festival, our legacy. Don't you miss this time, no.
Celebrating 40 years of fun in the June-July sun. Vincimas 2017. Enjoy the exciting blend of mass and panet steel and glitter. There's a Monday street party like no other. And the explosion of colors at Mardi Gras. Don't be left out of the Vincimas 40th birthday celebration. Evo 4.0. Evo 4.0. There's Kaiso and the energy at Soca Monarch. June 30th to July 11th. Vincimas, the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Check out Vincimas on Facebook or carnivalsvg.com for more details. Vincimas.
We're ready for Mars.
And cricket tops our sports package this evening. Windies were forced to labour before pulling off an attritional 4-wicket victory over Afghanistan in the second one-day international in St. Lucia on Sunday. Their bowling proved more clinical than last Friday's opening game, scuttling out the Afghans for a paltry 135 off 37.3 overs after the visitors opted to bat first at the Darren Sammy Cricket Ground. Gulbuddin Naib top scored with 51 batting at number 8, but no other batsman passed 20 as Windies quickly turned the screws on the Afghan innings. The fast bowling trio of Alzari Joseph, Shannon Gabriel and captain Jason Holder, along with soft spinner Ashley Nurse, all picked up 2 wickets each. Here are the highlights.
This was the first. Amadi cotton ball by Jason Holder. He went for just 8. And the West Indies had picked up an early one. Then there was a run out. Very careless run out. Wickets were falling very quickly there for the Afghanistan team. Wicket number 3. As Gabriel was bowling very short. And he was able to pick up the wickets. Mohammed taking another catch. Easy LBW decision here. Shinwari went for just 2. Shannon Gabriel, he was the man that was on fire, perhaps down the leg side. And then Joseph coming onto the attack. Thanks guy having a rough time in this series. He went for 11, caught by the keeper Shea Hope. Nabi came into bat. Didn't last too long. Roston Chase taking an easy catch off the bowling of Joseph again. That meant that the Afghans were 51 for 6. That soon changed when the 7th wicket fell. Ashley Nurse coming into the attack, picking up this wicket. There was more trouble. Roston Chase the man doing the damage. Then Rashid Khan was caught by Hope off of Holder. It was the second short ball. The first went for 6. This went into the hands of the keeper, Shea Hope. Nurse drifting this one. Very good catch for Evan Lewis, just perhaps injuring his shoulder. But nevertheless, he held on, and Daulat Zajran went for 9. Well judged catch. Then Naib, after getting his half-century, was easily caught by Joseph off of Nurse. Afghanistan all out for 135.
In reply, Windies were hardly convincing as they stumbled and stuttered to their target in the 40th over. Shea Hope kept his nerves to top score with an unbeaten 48 and earned man of the match honours, while opener Evan Lewis chipped in with 33. 18-year-old leg spinner Rashid Khan once again caused some consternation in the Windies batting, finishing with 3 for 26 from his 10 overs, while Seema Naib claimed 2 for 15.
Evan Lewis and Kieran Powell got things going in a very positive fashion. In fact, they put on 37 runs just before the break when they had dinner, and everyone felt that things were beginning to look a much brighter and a more happier fashion for the West Indies. Evan Lewis struck 5 fours, making 33. But then after the break, wickets tumbled. The first was Kieran Powell, out-caught Khan's first over. He looked to take on the leg spinner. And then Shea Hope looked quite classy, hitting 1 of 3 fours there. Before Lewis was LBW for 33, taking the score to 55 for 2, and then he thought it was going to be another early night as Khan looked to be threatening. But sneaking in on the outside was Naib, who took 2 wickets. Carter was the first, and then nice shot there from batting of Hope before Mohammed was dismissed with a very soft dismissal. Chase laboured for 9 before he was outstumped. There was a review and he was clearly out of his mark. not the light you wanted to see. Then Rodman Powell came in. He looked to be quite positive. Swung a couple of boundaries, easing the pressure somewhat. Went against the wind with this shot. Held out to Shah, who took a very good catch as the wind blew the ball. Captains finished things off with this boundary. 4 runs, victory to the West Indies.
And Captain Jason Holder heaped praises on the Windies bowling department for restricting Afghanistan's total, but he expressed concern about the lack of focus coming from the batsmen.
Good to get over the line, still a few areas that we could improve on. I just want to say credit to the bowlers, I thought we did an outstanding job to restrict Afghanistan to 135. I can't have so much more from the bowlers. I think we did an outstanding job, not only in this game, but the last game as well. I just think we just need to be a little bit more selective in our stroke play, obviously show a little bit more intent, when we go to bat.
And switching sport now, sprint superstar Usain Bolt's final appearance before his home crowd ended on a high as he won a special 100 meters event dubbed Salute to a Legend at the Racers Grand Prix on Saturday night. The 30-year-old, who will wind up a remarkable career following the IAAF World Championships in London in August, appeared rusty but said goodbye in style to home fans estimated at nearly 30,000 at the National Stadium.
Usain Bolt has given the world many moments to remember for a lifetime. Many of those moments have come in the National Stadium in Kingston, and he was determined to finish strong in front of a massive crowd on Saturday night. Sent up. Bolt didn't get a great start. Getting up well is Mincy Ashmead. Bolt comes to the front. Usain Bolt in command of the race. The shining light of world athletics closes his Jamaican chapter. Witnesses the last competitive performance in the land of wood, water and speed for Usain Bolt.
It's so special that the time he has...
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Credence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Google Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Dancing and whining and fretting till the morning.
Drinking, masquerading, live music always playing.
Islands of blue seas where people always smiling.
Street jams and bandstands where people will be jamming. Don't you miss this time, no. Our festival, our legacy. Don't you miss this time, no.
Ready.
It's another episode when we out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out of road.
Drink, drink, drink.
King Baba and Nikita. Hey, hey, hey. Every fact that I go, you keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, cause that's my babe. I don't understand how wearing a name tag on me. Don't know what to say, you still calling me wrong name.
Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
Again, the major developments of this day. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister advises his regional colleagues to stay out of Venezuela's affairs. And in sport, Windies managed to secure a 4-wicket victory in their second one-day international against Afghanistan. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CarnaNews.com. Have yourselves a very good night.